This dream began in September 2016. Look at this picture. Here we have Dr. Ernesto Raimondi, who is the current president of the Pan American Society. He's in the center. Dr. Cardinal Everde and myself. We were invited by the Peruvian Society of Intensive Care to the city of Huancayo, and that picture reflects how we sat and thought about how we could unite the world about a topic that really passionates us, which is critical lung. And I believe that was where the idea began in September 2016, and we materialized it 1 year later. You can see here how Dr. Cardinal had an oxygen mask because we were at the airport here, but he had been walking about 3,000 meters over sea level, and here he was paying the consequences for being such a daredevil. In November 2017, we held our first session, our first conference, and here I can share with you some of the outcomes and some of the important landmarks. First of all, we had speakers from 4 out of the 5 continents, from South America, North America, Africa, Europe, Asia. We managed to unite the world around the topic of critical lung. Also, we had the chance of having a support and we were endorsed by over 14 scientific society and also universities who joined our dream, and that is still directly linked to our second edition. And what's most important was participants. We had over 3,000, around 3,200 participants. Obviously, most of them came from Mexico, South America, especially Colombia and Ecuador, and Europe, and most especially Spain. But you can see here all the dots around the world. And some of the participants of other countries from the rest of the continents, they were also involved in our first version. Obviously, we want to grow in participant numbers from other places in the world. Last but not least, I would like to thank all of our sponsors for allowing us to materialize this free initiative, because it makes knowledge generalized and more democratic around a topic that is really important for us, really passionate for us, which is critical lung. Without further ado, I would like to welcome you all to this World Day of Critical Lung, and I'll give the floor to our second speaker, who's Dr. Guerrero, who will connect from Madrid. So good morning and welcome from Colombia. Thank you very much, Dr. Ortiz. I would like to open our second session. Good morning to you all and welcome to our second edition of the World Day of the Critical Lung. It is a great privilege and an honor for me to participate at this opening ceremony for this initiative by the Pan American Society of Critical Care Medicine. First of all, thanks to the Dr. Cardinal Fernandez and Guillermo Ortiz and all the committee, because once again they have put all of their efforts and their dedication to continue this project. Also, I would like to thank Dr. Juan Navarca, Director of the Group HM Hospital, and Dr. Cristobal Belda, Executive Director of the HM Foundation, for their commitment in this event and for allowing us to have all the necessary human, technical support and also the facilities of the HM hospitals. Also, thank you to Íñigo Martínez and Julio Villanueva, both doctors of the Santinarro Hospital, and Maria José Sánchez for unconditional support towards this project. From Madrid, I would like to warmly welcome all of our colleagues from Europe, and also welcome all of you who are from Africa and Asia. Now we have new countries, we have different sessions or different hospital days from where this event is being broadcast. For instance, in Guinea-Bissau. The respiratory distress syndrome, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and acute respiratory failure are very important, not just because the high morbidity of these episodes, 40% of our patients die in hospital, but also because they're still underdiagnosed by clinicians. We also observe a great concern because of the ventilatory guidelines and other supporting techniques based on scientific evidence that are still underused. Therefore, I'm really happy, and I really want to thank I'm really grateful for all of the speakers that we have for talking about acute respiratory failure and acute respiratory distress syndrome, because they're raising awareness, the whole of the population and our scientific area. Thanks to the technological tools that we have nowadays, we are convinced that we can reach as many ICUs as possible in order to share the knowledge and also to inspire a good impetus in this momentum for clinicians who deal with this acute respiratory failure. This year we have over 3,000 participants, and you can enjoy a very interesting program that has been divided in 7 sessions. Session 1 will be the lung under extreme condition. We will talk about extreme inhalated injury, synchronization with the ventilator, and new modes of mechanical ventilation. Session 2 will deal with acute respiratory failure, organized by the Society of Critical Care Medicine. They will be focusing on patient comfort, mechanical ventilations, and we will talk about distress in pediatric population. Session 3 will be about how to monitor and support respiratory function. Session 4, pulmonary infection diagnosis and treatment, and Session 5 will discuss acute pulmonary distress syndrome and ACMO in this ARDS. Session 6 will be about broncho-obstructive diseases, and Session 7 will discuss the lungs in the immunosuppressed patients, and we will have our latest closing conference with Louis Blanche, because Dr. Zimmerman had some personal problems and he couldn't be here. I would like to thank our supporters and sponsors and all of those who have endorsed us. Next, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Salum Shaban from Tanzania, who's going to be discussing From Dream to Reality, the Tanzanian Experience. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Dr. Salum Shaban Salum of Critical Care Department of Mnazi Mmoja Hospital, Zanzibar, Tanzania. First, I would like to thank World Day of Critical Lungs, Dr. Pablo Cardinal, and the whole organization to give us a chance to show what we have done in the past 2 years in our ICU project in Zanzibar, Tanzania. So Zanzibar is a semi-autonomous region of Tanzania, 25 to 50 kilometers of the coasts of the mainland, consists of main 2 islands, Unguja and Pemba, and several small islands with an estimated population of 1.3 million. Mnazi Mmoja Hospital is the main referral hospital in the island, located at Zanzibar town, the capital of Zanzibar, with an estimated 750 beds in multiple disciplines such as internal medicine, surgery, obstetric and gynecology, and neurosurgery. However, the quality care in the hospital is limited due to lack of staff, appropriate training, poor drugs, material, and poor investigation. So let's have a short history about our ICU. First, it was opened in 1999 with a total number of 6 beds. It was under anesthesiology department. At the time, there were no specific doctors located for the ICU. Most of the patients who are admitted either have no criteria to be admitted, or they don't receive proper management at the right time. This results in high mortality rate and bring fear to the citizen that every patient who is admitted in ICU will eventually die. Also, there was a problem of constant oxygen supply. This unit now is working as HDU. In 2016, a new ICU was opened with a collaboration between Zanzibar government and Chinese government with more advanced machinery, but it was having the same problem with low drugs, no trained staff, and poor supply of power and other oxygen. Also, we have poor resources organizations with lack of materials and drugs. This was our ventilator. It was old model, difficult to use. Also, we have no proper training for the management, so there were no benefit to the patients. So around July in 2016, the hospital decided to have junior doctors in the ICU. It was a difficult time due to poor skills to operate in ICU, poor decision making, and clueless during emergency situation. Also, it was difficult to choose patients with benefit in ICU care. We put with poor resources and power management. Around August in 2016, the Mnazi Mmoja Hospital with the NED Foundation, they signed a contract about having volunteers, about training the doctors in ICU management, and also they provide the initial drugs such as sedation for the ICU. We start by organizing ICU ward round in the morning, as you can see here, a group of doctors with some volunteers. We also had some lectures, we had workshops. Yeah. So as you can see here, let's talk about our progress. So at the beginning, we start by organization of the ICU, providing initial supply of drug and materials with the training of local staff and making of adopted protocols and guidelines. With time, we saw the reduced mortality and changing of ICU perception in the society. And we can see also the hospital started to invest more in the ICU with reliable oxygen, essential supply of drugs, and new ICU devices with increases number of staff from 1 to 6 to 2 to 3. This resulted in admitting more complicated patients and from surgical department and emergency department. This is our bed setting. Is not that much, but at least we have something where we can manage the patient properly. This is our new ventilators, as you can see, more easy to use. And this is our storage now, it's more organized. So let's see about our mortality. So before the start of ICU project in 2016, we can see here the mortality was above 40%. But after we start the project, we can see the mortality was coming down from 24% up to 30%. Although we saw the decreases of mortality, but we have same number of admission, and in 2018, in the past 6 months, we saw increases of number of 315 with only half a year. So we are expecting this year we'll have more admission, around 600 patients. So we have some data here about mechanical which patient we admit here. From 2017 to 2018, with total of 500 patients, we have 30% of them on mechanical ventilator, 9% on vasoactive drugs, 2% on dialysis, conventional ones, and 4.4% with massive transfusions. As you can see here, we receive more patients from surgical department, include obstetrics and gynecology, and the other patients are coming from medical department. So here our major working diagnosis in the ICU. Between the top 10 working diagnoses that we had during the period of 2012 to 2016, we can find 2 respiratory-related diseases such as respiratory infection and congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure included many women with peripartum cardiomyopathy. Also, we had some abdominal surgeries and trauma patients. Evolution of critical respiratory disease in ICU Zanzibar. So from the 2017-2018, with a total of 500 patients, we had 62% of them need of oxygen. Among those, 24% were on congestive heart failure, 15% with pneumonia, 11% with a stroke, and 47% with other conditions such as post-op shock and asthmatic. From 1999 to 2016, we had totally number of patients with on mechanical ventilator less than 5%. But now we were able to increase to 30% the patient on mechanical ventilator. Among those, we had mortality of 36.7%. With those who stay in the ventilator for less than 3 days, we can see here the mortality is around 25%. And those who stay in mechanical ventilator more than 3 days, you can see the mortality rate is high of above 83%. Why this? This is because we still have some challenges such as no gas analyzer for the patient. We cannot achieve good sedation on the patient due to lack of enough sedation. We are still not full trained in ICU and mechanical ventilation. We don't have medical air up to now. So even though we have this problem, but we're still working on them, and we are progressing well, and there's no excuse for the failure. So in conclusion, as you can see now, what we have achieved was we are able to change the perception in the society, like ICU now is a place to go to live. Now we have more patients, and the relative are having less worries if the patient admitted in ICU. We also work as the model for other departments in the hospital, and we are working as a consultation from all departments in the hospital. So this is our original team with me at the center, Dr. Salum, on my right hand, Dr. Yusuf and Dr. Saleh, and on my left hand, Dr. Carola, Dr. Suleiman, and Dr. Pablo. Thank you very much for your time.
She's Carola, I am Pablo. We work with Fundación Neo from Valencia, neurosurgeons who've been working over 10 years in Africa. In the last 3-4 years, they started a project in Zanzibar, a neurosurgery project. And obviously they need intensive care therapies because, these surgeries are complicated. When we started in 2016, we found they had an ICU in a public hospital in Zanzibar that they had built recently, and obviously in that country, critical care, there's almost none. There's only one anesthetist for 1 million population. That was underused. Well, we went there, and here you will listen to our colleague Sabam, who was working with us, and he's going to explain how the experience went. Well, that's more or less what he's going to talk about as soon as there's a connection. We are still working on the project. If you have any questions, it's an NGO, it's a foundation with diverse projects. One of them is neurosurgery, that's the most important one, but there are others like anesthesia, gynecologists, all focusing on this public hospital, principal or most important hospital in Zanzibar. What is your future here? Our future is to keep working. Well, I don't want to talk too much about what my colleague's going to talk about, but the idea is to keep working with them, not exactly with an assistance work, going there, but training people there, training professionals there, because there is no program for training as such. They just go by from what we teach them. We guide them on how to do things. The truth is that doctors there are almost, well, we are now on our third year of the project, and they, in a way, they are like residency doctors, so to say, like the analogy for the Spanish training pathway. But, well, they still need some support, of course. So we try to keep on working on the training part of it, so that people there are able to manage their own units, and they don't need any people from abroad to teach them. What's the language you're talking there? English. All east of Africa, usually they speak English, with, of course, African accent or varieties, but it's English. Well, if you want, we can wait for the connection and use the time for questions from the audience, maybe. If the connection's done, we can then give the floor to Sabam. So, in the end, if we want to collaborate, what could we do, or would you like us to do from the collaboration point of view? Because this is going to be broadcast, not all over the world, but almost all over the world. Well, the project's still ongoing, and we always need volunteers to participate and come with us and work in the ICU there, to work with the rest of the local staff, and that's open to all of you who want to volunteer. Just contact us, and we will talk about the organization and how things are done. Our colleague over there is going to explain everything, but the ICU is a new ICU, first or peak technology, but any support's always welcome, whether it's finance or staff support. So do you think that material from hospitals can be sent there? Oh yes, of course, it's always welcome. Yes, because many times we need drugs or basic things, basic tools. There's a lot of imagination needed in order to treat a patient. Yes, we have to be very creative. It is also helpful to keep in mind that we also learn from that, exactly, that the alternatives we need to find out on our daily work, because you need to really tap on your imagination in order how to get the most from your limited resources. And how about you, doctor, from your woman point of view? Yes, that's an important viewpoint to work there, how to give a voice to women, because most of doctors are men, some women too. Yes, just a couple, very few women, but there are women doctors too. Where do they train to be doctors? Well, there is a university, there is a project, a Cuban project or program where they are trained, and those with more resources, income, they travel and go to Asia, to China, Turkey, to keep on training, India too. Those are the most lucky, the luckiest of them. They study like a degree. It's not a specialty. There are no accredited specialties, unfortunately, there. We are working on it. And I want to say that I am a volunteer worker from the team. I'm just one of them. And Paulus here is the coordinator. He is working really hard. And it's really worth, his work is very worthy. Over the last 2 years, talking about intensivists, over 70 volunteers have gone there, we try to create, to build up teamwork with 3 people. And apart from the ICU intensivists, there are also volunteer workers from other specialties, anesthesia, gynecologists, obstetrician, etc. And the big leap with the ICU project was that because the rest of the missions were surgical and neurosurgical missions, well, in those cases, you really go there, you operate, you do some surgery, you gather a number of cases, you work on them, and you come back. But our work has also to do with assistancy, attendance, and there is a more long-going perspective. So we always try to explain how to work on the long term. How about their social background? I'm talking about doctors. Do you think there's a difference in a social background? Imagine people going there for 3 months or 6 months, a year. Is there a big contrast with that? Well, doctors there have purchase power higher than the rest of the population, but not indeed enough to pay for their whole program here in Spain. If they want to come here, they would need a lot of financial support for that. More difficult would be to pay for accommodation in general. Yes, that's something we are working on, how to bring doctors here that are undergoing some training programs, and how could they come to Spain and see how we work here. For us, it's really important, and we are open to any of you who would volunteer to welcome some of them, any of them at home, for instance, and help them out while they are here. Well, first of all is to find a budget for that, but maybe in times of maybe summertime, times when there's more like spare time to dedicate to them. Are we ready? Zanzibar last year started to be very well known because it's a tourist area. There's many safaris going on, and then tourists go to the beach too, and undoubtedly it's a lovely, lovely place, spectacular beaches, people are very, very nice. And then we need to remember that, well, apart from that, or maybe we had a misguided idea that it's a rich area, but when you go into the deep Zanzibar, you see that is not the case. There is one private hospital, but it's private and can only be afforded by tourists and very wealthy people. And we don't work with that hospital, no. Let's finish now the inaugural sessions, and let's start with scientific, and I want to apologize for these technical problems.
Estimados colegas, hace un año se realizó la primera edición del Día Mundial del Pulmón, que tuvieron mucho éxito, donde más de 2.500 profesionales se incorporaron a esa sesión que duraron 24 horas. Y luego de un año, el comité organizador, formado por los doctores Pablo Cardinal, Luis Blanch, Carmelo Dueñas, Guillermo Ortiz, Orville Baez y Manuel Gibaja, se han constituido para organizar este segundo evento que será el día 21 de noviembre. Quiero agradecerle al comité organizador y a todos los oradores que van a estar presentes el día 21 de noviembre, y asimismo destacar lo inclusivo que han sido para poder realizar este evento. Asimismo, quiero agradecer a las empresas que han sponsoreado el Día Mundial del Pulmón. Gracias por estar presente y éxitos en la nueva edición.
The European Respiratory Society, I'd like to wish you every success with your meeting. Respiratory disease is something that affects millions of people worldwide, and taking care of these patients, especially in circumstances of emergency and critical care, is extremely important. There are many patients, there's a lot of suffering, we should be able to prevent it and alleviate it. The European Society is the largest respiratory society. We're European-based, but we have members in 162 countries, over 32,000 members, and we all try to do our best for our patients. So we promote science, we promote education for our members, but also education and information for our patients, and advocacy. So we work with policymakers to make sure that everything, easy access to care, early diagnosis, and best care is available for our patients. With this in mind, I'd like to wish you every success to your meeting. Everything we do in respiratory medicine is important and it has an effect on patients. And I would also like to invite you to our meeting in Paris this coming September. Every success to your meeting.
Hello, I am Janice Zimmerman, President of the World Federation of Societies of Intensive and Critical Care Medicine. I would like to offer a warm welcome to everyone who is participating today in the World Day of the Critical Lung. I would also like to offer my thanks to the many speakers who are sharing their time and expertise today. My warmest and sincerest gratitude and congratulations to the Pan American Federation of Societies of Intensive and Critical Care Medicine for organizing and providing free education about these important issues of the lung. Hopefully, the knowledge will result in better outcomes and care for patients throughout the world. Thank you.
Good evening and greetings from Seattle, Washington. My name is Jerry Zimmerman and I am president of the Society of Critical Care Medicine. I would like to invite you and your colleagues to consider participation in the upcoming 2018 World Day of the Critical Lung. This is an event that will be held on November 21st, utilizing a world webinar format. As you all know, medicine has made tremendous advances, including pulmonary medicine, but pulmonary illness and injury of a whole variety continue to be a major source of both mortality and morbidity worldwide. The World Day of the Critical Lung event is an online, global, free, bilingual, both English and Spanish event that will bring together experts in pulmonary medicine, including pulmonary critical care medicine, to discuss critical lung disease and its treatment. This virtual event was extremely successful last year around this time in 2017 and included over 3,200 participants who joined the event either in person or virtually. You can find more information about the 2018 World Day of the Critical Lung at the registration link. Get your pen and write this down: wdcl//wdcl.com/en/. So I hope that all of you will have the time and opportunity to participate with all of your colleagues worldwide on November 21st and join in on the 2018 World Day of the Critical Lung. Thank you very much.